get in the link. How do we get our kids on? How do we communicate with parents? What tools are the best to use? Sometimes we start with one and then the school tells us we have to use a different one and then we can go back to whatever one we want. So we are in this state of crisis as we are trying to figure this out, which is really why it's so crucial to lean on each other as a good PLC and communicate and collaborate and just talk through how can we do this the best way we can. And you'll see, even as we go, I mean, gosh, my first virtual lesson, it was a disaster. And I can say that out loud, like it was a disaster. I went to move kids into breakout rooms and I didn't even have the breakout room option because I didn't turn it on, because I didn't know I had to turn it on, because I thought it was just going to be there. So it's really about knowing that there are going to be failures. Okay. We are going to fail in some of the things that we're doing because this is not what we're typically used to doing. And that's okay. We just need to fail forward. We laugh through it. We work through it. And you know what? It's so funny that none of the kids thought anything of it. They all showed up for the next lesson, which I was fully prepared for with my breakout rooms. So I think that that's one of the things that you have to know in going into this. It is really, really powerful to pre-plan and go in and play in the settings with your PLC before you actually try to do it with your kids. Because if you're trying to do it in live time, there's going to be things that you miss. Hence my experience. So there is a very big difference, and we just kind of wanted to touch on that. I wanted to also acknowledge the fact that, guys, there's barriers that you're going to come up against. We have kids that are no longer showing up to our classrooms every single day. We don't see them physically. We are not their stable person anymore. They're in settings where sometimes it's stable and sometimes it's not. I mean, I'll use my own house as an example. I have 3 children, 3 girls who are super loud when they're all together. And it is not fun on a daily basis, homeschooling and working and trying to teach at the same time. It's not easy to do it. And that's in a home where my kids have 2 parents, have support, we're there with them most of the time. So have support all day, have each other. They were doing really well in school. We have internet. We have more than one device for them to be able to get on and actually get some of their instruction. So we have a really good situation, and it's chaotic. And my kids have not all gotten all of their work done and turned it in and gotten the pictures in. And there's things that we struggle with because this is stuff we're not used to. So I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that we have barriers to this. You are going to have situations where you only have 3 kids show up when you sign up and have, send it out for your classroom meeting or a lesson that you're going to do and touching base with your kids. You have so many different things that you cannot control, right? We can't control who has internet, who doesn't, who shows up and who doesn't, who turns in their work and who doesn't. We can't control any of those things. One of the things I really wanted to kind of focus on today is just addressing that and really pushing you to think past the barriers, because innovative leaders and lead learners, we're always trying to get over those hurdles, cross those barriers, and continue pushing forward. So there are going to be barriers. And I just want you to really kind of focus on what are the things that I can control. If I know that I have 2 kids that I'm super concerned with that never show up, never turn anything in, let that part go and figure out a way to reach out and connect with them a different way, right? So there's just going to be things that we are going to talk about today that I know there are going to be barriers that are going to come up in your head that you're going, yeah, but, and I get that. But today's session specifically is about how do you push forward and virtually teach in the crisis teaching time that we're currently working in, and how do we reach as many kids as we can, and what do we do if we can't reach our kids through virtual learning if they're not showing up. Okay, so I just wanted to really address that, first and foremost as we move forward, because today is not about the things that we can't control. Today is about the things that we can control and how we can move forward.
All right, here is a list of the 4 topics that each person on our team is going to kind of divide and conquer. We're going to see a lot of interaction here in a minute. We're going to try to model. I don't know if they could hear me.
Through me, they could. See, things like that happen all the time.
This is what we do to our kids. Give me a thumbs up if you're listening. Can you hear me? Jamie, is everybody thumbs up? All right. These are the 4 tactical tools that our team has chosen to model for you today. These are 4 big lessons that we continually take ourselves back to, going back right back to what Bree said. These are the things that we can control. There's a lot of things in our lives happening right now that we can't. It's just not going to happen. But these 4 things we absolutely can control. And I love what one of our friends, one of the girls on our team said, have we forgotten? Have we forgotten what good teaching looks like? It's not that we can't good teach. It's just the way that we change how we reach what is good teaching. We're just doing it in a virtual setting. So we try to stay focused on the things in our instruction that we could still could control. Throughout the day, you're going to get to experience breakout rooms and polls, and you just got to play with poll everywhere a little bit from the user end, and see what that looks like on the presenting end. All of these tools are linked on the handout that Adrienne is making sure that you some way or how you get them, either through your email or through the chat feature. Tactical tool number 1, virtual planning and management. Before we get started with virtual planning and management, we want to hear from you. What virtual tools are you currently using? So in a second, you're going to see a poll launch on your screen, hopefully, if technology is our friend today. This is a multiple choice answer, meaning you can choose more than one. Not in our educator world, sometimes we say, oh, multiple choice, you can only choose 1 out of 4. You can choose any of the ones you've tried. We just want to see where a lot of our participants are coming to us from.
Is Go Meet different from Google Meet?
Looks like we have 20 of 34 people.
Shannon, did you hear the question? Is Go Meet different than Google Meet?
This is a great way. Polls are a great way to do, that quick formative assessment. We don't have whiteboards that they can hold up over their heads and show us the answer. We can't just pass out a quiz real quick. But if you're using Zoom, use polls. Polls is a great way to just drop a quick question, see which one of your kids are with you. They can vote right there in real time. And then also now as the educator or the teacher, I am saying, oh, okay, I can end this poll and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Share results. So now you guys get to see quickly the results of the quiz or the poll. You can use multiple choice. You can do single choice, which is where you can have as many options as you want. You can add as many questions. I just used 1 to kind of keep this meeting short. But it's a great way to ask the kids a question, get them engaged, and then show and talk about or break into rooms and talk about the results. Someone asked a question. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Can you turn on your volume? Yeah. Is that better? Are you muted? You have back noise for some reason. We're still working on technology right now. We're trying to get someone with sound in here. Can you try to put your sound on? Is there back noise on yours?
I don't hear back noise anymore.
I couldn't hear
What, Jamie?
I said I don't hear back noise anymore.
Oh.
But We had a question. Is Google Meet and Go Meet the same thing?
No.
Okay.
Google Meet is through Gmail, and Go Meet was the Zoom before Zoom became the empire. It is just another virtual platform where people can video conference. I don't know that it has all of the features that Zoom has, but some people use it.
Looks like we have a question. Katina.
I'm not sure, Sierra, about the co-host only being in the paid version, but I will check on that for you and let you know.
Jana, it looks like Katina is raising her hand. Jana.
But I can't get another. It has to be another person.
Oh, you should let me call in too.
Yeah. That's all I know.
All right. All right. Have we forgotten? When we were planning together, we started asking ourselves, what is most important when students are sitting right in front of us? And when we kind of got down to those big 4 things, building relationships with our kids. Our kids have to know that they are loved. And then we have to keep them interested, because right now we are fighting against YouTube. We are fighting against gamers. We are fighting against brother and sister in the background screaming and crying, or the fact that they're embarrassed to even turn on their screens because of the way that their households look. You have to build relationships. This means within and outside of your lessons. You may just be getting on a Facebook Live and doing something silly with them one afternoon. Maybe you are, we know that there are teachers that called and read bedtime stories to kids, right? That's a great way to build relationships with your kids when you are not right there with them. There are some teachers that are having lunch dates. Let's eat lunch together. And there are other people who are doing, like instead of flat Stanley, they're doing a flat dry. Take pictures of me and you doing something around the house. These are all great ways to continue to build relationships with your kids. We know that social emotional learning is such a huge part of kids' education. We can't forget that just because we're in a virtual setting. Okay. Know your content. Plan good lessons. We're going to talk about that here in 1 second. You have to plan, and you're not going to be able to continue to plan in the way that you were planning when you were face-to-face. Keep kids engaged. Don't let them click the leave meeting button. We laugh about that all the time. When we start our lessons, we're like, okay, all right, mission. No one leaves. We want to keep them so hooked. You know, kids watch YouTube, my own children included. I have to take the device from them and say, no more, because they are glued to that. How can these, teenagers and these young kids make these YouTube videos that capture our kids? If they can do it, we can do it. We just got to figure out what's captivating them and make our lessons that engaging. And then I think we've also forgotten that we still need to measure their progress. We are not going to say that any of these things are easy. We are just simply saying that we got to remember these and innovate these as we plan and get virtual learning going. All right, hold on 1 second. Can you turn yours on? All right, collaborative planning. Is your mic off? Just leave it on. It's just, they can't hear. Is it echoing on your end, guys? Nope. Okay, good. Perfect. We're just going to try to not get distracted by it. We're moving further away to see if that helps. Collaborative planning. Some of the things that we've talked about with grade levels in schools that we've worked with from North Carolina, South Carolina, some in Virginia and Tennessee. Who can share the load with you? You don't have to be the only teacher that teaches the kids that are on your roster. Break your roster assignments. Just be good teachers. We have schools who are saying, okay, we have 8 people on our grade level. 2 people are teaching Monday. These 2 people are teaching on Tuesday. These 2 people are teaching on Wednesday. And all of the kids from that grade level go to those assignments. And there are other teachers on there co-hosting or co-teaching, but that way you're kind of sharing that load. There's one thing that, we've talked about with multiple district leaders is our teachers are overwhelmed right now. They are stressed to the max. They're barely staying afloat, but they're also trying to teach every single group. You don't have to. Our team doesn't. We divide and conquer. We say, okay, who's teaching this week? We can't teach every day. It's just not going to happen. So divide and conquer. Where are your strengths? Who's teaching on what day? Who's going to co-host on one day? Create a schedule for yourselves. Work smarter, not harder. One of the other things that we talk about when we collaboratively plan is, what is the learning goal? Students will learn X and show me by Y. That example of that I use with my daughter all the time, because she asks me, she's like, what am I doing and why am I doing it? I tell her all the time, I'll say, okay, well, right now, by the time that you finish this lesson, I need you to be able to tell time on the half hour, and you're going to show me by moving the hands on our clock or writing the time when I move the hands. She's like, okay, I'm good. They just need to know what you expect of them. We know that if we look at Hattie's list of effects, right, of visible learning, visible high impact comes from kids setting goals and knowing what they're supposed to be doing. So we have to make sure that we don't forget that in that virtual learning setting. Every single lesson that you plan or your grade level plans should start with, what do they need to know and how are they going to show me? It's also going to help you eliminate some of the busy work that these kids are getting tired of doing, right? What does it look like over the course of the week? This is something that our team talks about, and we don't have a roster assigned group of kids. So when we share some videos here with you in a second, you're going to be like, holy cow, there's a lot of kids on there. We don't know how many kids are coming to our lessons each week. We don't know what it looks like. We're honestly teaching, A, to help our teachers out and just provide examples, but B, also to fail with you, because there's no way that we can provide coaching and support if we don't actually feel what it feels like to be you. And this is so new to everybody. So we don't know any of these things, and we have to get our entire lesson in one session, because we don't know if we'll ever get those kids back. But you have roster, you have kids assigned to you, your class or your grade. What does that lesson look like over the week? Maybe Monday they do watch a YouTube video, but Tuesday they're jumping on a live Google Hangout or a live Zoom, whatever platform that your school or district requires you to use. Maybe they're jumping on a Facebook live video, and then on Wednesday they're working independently to show you what they got from Monday and Tuesday. On Thursday, you're going to do small group check-ins. And then on Friday, they do a formative assessment. Map it out over the course of the week. Don't think about it as, I have to create one lesson, one video, and they get everything that they need. That's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So map out, how do I start it? And where do I want them to be by Friday? We need to know when kids need whole group direct instruction and when they need to be small group. There are times this can be totally okay to pre-film a video, give it to the whole group. And there are times where you need to sit and listen and hear and talk to a very small group of kids. That's totally okay. Just know when they need what. How are you going to reach students? How are you going to integrate their interest into what you're planning? These are all things that we collaboratively plan together. Our team does. We don't plan alone. Here are examples of different virtual plans. These are all linked in the handouts that Adrienne is making sure that you get via the chat or your email if you couldn't access it through the chat. But this is just the full PDF, or the full things are there for you to make a copy. But these are just examples. How do we map it out over the course of the week? What platform are we using? What engagement strategies are we going to try to integrate? And it might not be perfect every time. That's totally okay. What's our learning target? How are kids going to watch something? Are they going to engage in something? What are they going to read? Or maybe if it's math, what are they going to investigate? We've been doing a lot of live investigations on our videos where they're actually using things that they find in their house, or we're playing a video of something in our house. So thinking about those things that are important, how are they going to practice? In the middle, you see an at-home learner guide. This is actually something that I created for my daughter because it was so hard for me to manage all the things, right? All the clicks. I'm going to different places to get different things. And then we were just talking about developmentally appropriate executive functioning. Kids are learning on devices, and for some people, that's really hard. And so for her, she needed a checklist. She needed to know what she was required to do for the day, when her lessons were going to be throughout the day, what the expectations were for her, and then her login. She needed it all in one place. And then like I would give her feedback on how she did. Those examples of these schedules are also found. But making sure, I think here, that people are clear of the learning target, the expectations, and the learning that is offered. In the top right, you're going to see an example of just kind of a matrix for the week. What are the lessons that we're going to provide? It doesn't have to be all of these areas, right? But what are the lessons we're going to provide, and then link it up to it so that people have it all in one place. This is an example of something that you could put on a Google slide. The reason that we started doing this, we found it was so much easier to let parents know ahead of time. So on Sunday, parents get an email or a social media post with all the instruction that we're going to offer this week. They click the link, they sign up for it. Zoom takes care of the rest. I don't have to monkey with it. It puts them in the right group. It sends them an invitation at the right time. And then parents are completely aware of all of the different learning opportunities that the kids are going to have access to. And you may also want to, as you have the lesson and you record it, post a link to the recording. So anybody that wasn't able to come live at least has access to the recorded instruction. Virtual houses. We talked about this a lot as moms and as a team, how it's really difficult, especially if you have kids at a variety of levels. So I've got an elementary student, I've got a middle school student, I've got a high school student, how our parents are completely overwhelmed with all the different places that they're having to go to access information. And we were talking about how awesome it would be if you're on here and you're a district administrator to make an executive order on, this is going to be our platform for our families. It's all going to be in one place. Don't care what it is. We're not doing a commercial for any of them. We're just doing a commercial for keep it consistent. Because as parents, we're trying to learn a variety of different things and we're getting lost in the clicks. So as teachers, so that was, wearing my parent hat, switch it to my teacher hat. Where am I providing all the information that a parent would need, easy to use, in one-shot location? So here you can see an example of a Google site that is at-home learning. You can see an example of a Google Classroom. You can see an example of a Canvas, which is a learner management platform. So just pick one. And if you're working in a district who hasn't said, hey, we will use X, then as a grade level, or maybe as a school, even if you're a school administrator, everybody pick one. It is extremely difficult. And one of the things that we talk about is to be humble reflectors. And we constantly sit down around the table and we're like, well, that didn't work. We gotta go back and we gotta fix this. Get feedback from your parents. What's working? What's not working? At the district level, at the school level, and even at your classroom level. Is my communication working for you? Is there a better time? Is there a better way? Do you have any questions about how to access lessons or access information? I think now more than ever, we need to stay even more connected through two-way communication, not one way. We can plan the most beautiful lesson or the most beautiful email or the most beautiful post and send it out to parents. It made total sense to us and we thought we were going to kill it, but the person on the receiving end has no idea what we're talking about, right? It's okay. Reflect on it. How can I make that more clear for my audience? Who are your customers? Making sure that you're getting feedback from your customers is going to be critical, especially at a time where everybody's learning this kind of new way of life. know what tools your students are going to need and share those prior to the video. Is it a journal? Is it pens? Is it crayons? Is it text? Is it stories? Is it virtual manipulatives? At home manipulatives? You know, I ran into one teacher and she was like, I put manipulatives, a Ziploc bag of homemade manipulatives in the kids' lunch. The buses are running every single day. If you have something that they need that they can't get access to, break down barriers. What a beautiful way to reach kids whose parents can't, for some reason or another, provide for them, or just at this time don't even know really how. Like, how many parents know what base 10 blocks are, right? But if I print out base 10 blocks and cut them up, they're paper, but they work. And I send them in that kid's lunch, and they open up their lunch, and then they've got base 10 blocks for the lessons that they're going to do the following week. They love it. Send a note, send a card to them right through their lunches. I was like, that is ingenious. And kudos to that district that is doing that. But innovate, guys. There are things that are out of our control, but there are things that aren't. And no one's going to sit back and the job's not going to get easier. We just have to start thinking of ways that we can reach children, even if it's not face-to-face, them sitting in our classroom. I'm going to show you a quick little example. It's going to be like a 30-second clip of a coin lesson that we did. And all we did is we sent out a message to parents and we said, for this lesson, you're going to need a handful of random coins. If you don't have them, let us know. We will make it work. Oh, there's no noise. Can you hear it?
You might need to turn the volume up on your computer.
My volume's up. Looky there. Fell forward. It doesn't work. We practiced this earlier and it worked fine. I wonder. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to problem solve one thing. I think because I was sharing on the TV earlier.
Well, and as she's problem solving, I wanted to just point you guys to the chat. There's some really great conversations going on in the chat feature right now. Just brainstorming and sharing ideas and some of the best practice things that are working. And just as we're going through this, make sure, if you haven't already, open up your chat and watch through it as you're also kind of watching the presentation. And because we're about to start doing some of the interactive components where you actually go into some breakout rooms and stuff. But a couple of things. I know that Christy shared the checklist idea that Jana was talking about before, a version of that with her high school students, because they need that in order to get organized, set them up for success, and know to effectively plan. That is such a great way. And then Megan, I love the fact that Megan shared, and I was actually responding and stopped because I started talking to you guys, but Megan Green sharing the fact that every Thursday they do a Zoom meeting on Thursday evenings for the parents. So the parents can tell them, actually, why am I saying it? Megan, let's have you share. Let me unmute you, Megan. Go ahead and share with us.
I actually started doing it because, I have a great group every year, but they were super stressed out about doing this, and it was breaking my heart because I was getting emails like, I can't do this, and giving them like a lot of pep talks. So we started from the get-go just jumping on Thursdays because I get my planning done with my team on Wednesday and Thursday, so everything's kind of solid for the next week. And we just jump on and we talk about, I send them the plans ahead of time, and they come with questions or concerns, and they, like the kiddos on the first day of school, were dead silent, like, you're the teacher, I'm not allowed to talk type thing at first. And then they just started opening up and they started saying, I really like what you're doing, but this might be easier if you send it to me this way. Or could you try, my kid really likes these games. And I started like tweaking what I was doing based on their suggestions. And now they're coming in like blazing. They're like, okay, let's try this and let's do that. And they don't look scared anymore, which is cool. And it was heartbreaking to watch, but now I get really excited on Thursdays to see what they've been doing with their kids. So that's what I do.
Megan, how long did they last?
How long did they last? What do you mean?
How long do your Thursday meetings last?
We get on at 6:30 because I wanted everybody to be able to get home from work, although most of them are working from home. They usually go maybe 30 minutes.
That's good.
That, and they talk and they share out with each other. And I kind of went from like talking to them to just facilitating their conversations. So it's really cool.
Thank you so much for sharing, Megan. That's awesome. My sound, for some reason, is hooked up to my headphones because I was watching a video earlier today. So Jamie is going to try. We're going to switch to a co-host screen share. Failing forward. Jamie's going to try to share her screen and see if this works. And this is something that we also want you guys to be comfortable with. There are going to be so many times during your lesson where it does not go as planned, and that's totally okay. We practiced this and it worked perfectly, and now it's not, but that's okay. We're just going to keep rolling with it and see if that works. Problem solve around it. So there's no volume either.
You're on mute.
Everybody find one that looks like that? If you don't have one that looks like this, look at this picture for a minute. Everybody think of an adjective or a describing word. I can hold one up to here to the screen if you can't see. You don't have one. Think of an adjective or a describing word that describes this coin. I'm muted.
You're unmuted.
So super simple and easy, right? Grab a handful of coins. If you don't have a handful of coins, let me know. I'll get them to you. Or provide pictures or actual manipulatives up to the camera. Give them, make sure that they know what they need before they join the meeting, before they start the meeting. All right, Jamie.
All right. We are going to be talking now about our tactical tool number 2, which is keep your relationships. So when we think about this, we got into teaching because we love kids. We got into teaching because we love these relationships. We also love the content, but we really love the relationships that we have with kids. And right now is the most critical time where we really need to be keeping those relationships the same. So we're going to talk about a couple different things that we can do every day with your kids that can help build those relationships. So check-ins. Check-ins is one way that you can build relationships with your kids. So what I'd like you to do, and Jana, you might have to help me a little bit because now I'm sharing my screen, is there's a green button at the top. And if you click on that, you should see a button that says annotate.
Yeah, and if you're viewing, you're going to actually click view options and then annotate.
Annotate means that you can write on my screen, and a huge shout out to Sierra Stone, wherever you are, because you helped us figure out that we can figure out who is actually doing the annotating in a Zoom last week. Teachers got each other's backs. It was awesome. So if you could annotate, I want you to annotate and write on here what you are currently doing to check in with your students. If you're doing a morning meeting, what are you doing to make sure that you're checking in on how they're doing? So if everybody can just write on my screen.
I love this because students can write directly on their screens. You can use text.
This is beautiful. Google Forms, phone conferences, wacky days. I've seen a lot of fun spirit days that are happening lately on Zoom that are kind of checking in with kids. Classroom Zooms. Small groups, absolutely.
While people are annotating the screen, if you're a middle school or secondary educator, I want you to consider how important that, oh my gosh, just left me. Your check-in period, your advisory period. A lot of schools are adding a 10-minute or 20-minute advisory period to their master schedules. What ways can you check in on your secondary kids, especially that middle school level, to see how they're doing? Like, I'm looking at this Monday check-in on the board. I'm great, I'm okay, I'm struggling. We have kids right now who being at home is not a safe place to be. They're hungry. They're in danger from abusive parents, whether it's alcohol abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse. We have a lot of kids who are not doing well. How are we creating intimate time with our students to make sure that their social emotional needs are still being met, even though they're not walking through our doors every day?
And that's really what we're going to dive
Stephanie,
into.
I call attendance while I call attendance while I'm in the video, and my students will send me a video of saying present in a funny way. Very cool.
So it looks like you guys are already doing a lot of things, which is one of the reasons we're going to show you how to use Annotate, because kids love drawing on your board. It's like a cool thing for them to do for engagement. And another thing is you're already doing a lot of good things, because really we've got to keep these kids. This check-in board I put up here, because it's so easy for check-ins, I can annotate a stamp of different stamps and put a heart and put a check and put a question mark, and I can say, how are you feeling? Just put your name up there, just like these check-ins that you would normally do in your class. You can do it with that. And if the kids, you can say, if you are at a question mark, I don't really know, or I'm having a bad day, they can privately chat with you and tell you. But if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you. So this is something that you are already doing. So we're going to go a little bit into this. There's lots of different ways that you can share. All right, we're going to go, I think, to the next slide, if I can. Let's see. Oh, I need to erase all the annotations. Annotate clear. There we go. All right. So before we go, I'm going to talk a little bit more actually about ways to check in with your students. So I don't know how to go back here. Jana, this is why you're better with this. But so I'm gonna stop sharing for a second, and we're gonna go to a gallery. So there's a couple different things you can do. Number one, whole class meetings, small group class meetings, the mental health check-ins we already talked about. This is an excellent thing to do with your kids if you are considering, like, what should I be doing with them? And that is circles of control. In a class meeting, talk about what can you not control? Like, anybody, what can you not control right now? Allison, what can you not control? Give me an example.
I can't control if other people are not social distancing.
Okay, we cannot control the actions of other people. We cannot control social
I cannot control that school is closed for the remainder of the year.
What else can we not control? Anyone?
Any family's situations?
Yep.
Or I cannot control my internet or Wi-Fi issues.
You are absolutely right. We cannot control that. These are all things that we can't control. What can we control?
My attitude towards my kids.
Say that again, Megan.
My attitude towards my kids.
Mm-hmm.
My investment.
Your kids at home or your students, or both?
Well, both. Like my investment with them, like how joyful I am to be with them and like truly invested.
You can control your time and your investment, how you're spending it. Anybody else have something else you can control?
Anything you
That
can
I'm still
learn to make a
providing
better lesson.
resource.
Okay, I can control. I
The
heard
resources
I heard some people said you can,
instructions.
some of the
Then the resources, yes.
some of those resources you can control. You can give them virtual things that they can use. You can make a screen share. So this is just something that you can do with your kids, but already then you say, this is what we're gonna focus on, because all of these things that are out here are things that we cannot control right now. So let's talk today about how, and we'll just zoom in on one of these. We're zooming our Zoom. We're gonna zoom in. How can we control our attitude? And then you can have a class meeting about just zooming in on some of those things that they can control right then. And it helps those kids say, oh, because when life is spiraling, what am I supposed to do? And this is one thing that you can do. Another thing is show and tell. Even in high school, like there's things that they have wanted to show you forever, or they've told you, like, I did this drawing once, and kindergarten, like they are holding up their dogs. But if you just schedule a time, you know it, they're all shaking their heads. So they're like, this is my dog, this is my baby sister. Oh, she's getting a diaper change. And you have all these crazy things going on. But if you schedule a time for show and tell, they get it out of their system. They say, okay, I know this is my time. I schedule a time. I don't do show and tell, but since I started this virtual teaching, I realized the importance of it. And I put them in breakout rooms and they can show each other everything. So that way we're not in an hour Zoom looking at one thing. Breakout rooms is an excellent way to do that. If you're not Zooming, if you're just doing a chat, you can post would you rather questions. Like, would you rather have pizza delivered to you, or would you rather keep eating mom's homemade pizza? And have them answer those would you rather questions in the chats.
And Jamie, that's actually a show that the kids absolutely love right now, that Would You Rather. I mean, have you heard your kids talk about that? My kids do that all the time. They love the show. They love that. So I think that's something that's key too in really maintaining personal relationships with your kiddos. Know what they're interested in.
Yes, absolutely. We should know what they're interested in, because you could spell the would you rather like they do on the Disney show, because they'll like, it's like their last name is Rather. So then the kids will be like, oh, you know the Disney show. Or it could just be something in high school. Would you rather stay up till midnight and get up early, or would you rather go to bed early but get up at 2 a.m. and play video games? So you can kind of tailor it to their needs. One word shares is a great one for chat. You guys can do this right now. In the chat, you can put one word about how you're feeling. If you feel like it's not something you want to share with everybody, you could privately chat it to me. Yes, Jan is feeling inspired. So then everybody starts to see where they can just put one word. Perfect. So when we see these one words, we're seeing all the ways that people are feeling. And if you are feeling uncertain, I'm still seeing it. Not everybody has to see it. Perfect. So this is just a one-word chat. And next thing is 20 questions. The more you play with them, the more fun they'll have. So you do something and they can ask you questions and they have to type in the number, and then the kids get into 20 questions about, and I'm thinking of something I can see in my room, which makes it personal. There's other ways to check in. So non-digitally, postcards. Children love mail. My children will run to the mailbox in the hopes that they will get mail. And my dad sends them postcards. Their teachers have sent them postcards, letters. A first grade teacher sent awards to all her kids. And like all the parents were posting these pictures of her kid holding up a reading award because she mailed them or she sent them all awards. Another one is call them. Megan, you already did a great job of explaining how you Zoom with the teachers. Call the parents to check in with them, and call the kids. Have you ever talked to your teacher on the phone? Honestly, I have never talked to one of my teachers on the phone. I think I would have been like in shock and delight, like a celebrity phone call. If it was like, the phone's for you, it's your teacher. So I feel like that is one way that it's really easy. If you have 30 kids, one a day, it'll take about 5 minutes. And then be creative. We've seen signs, we've seen parades, celebrating birthdays, putting balloons on a mailbox just to let them know that you're thinking of them. You know, teachers are creative. We are creative people. And we got in this a lot of times because we have some creative. We were we're made for this moment to think outside the box. We were made to do this. Like, this is all of our training. We know how to make kids feel special. So think anything that you can do, they will love. So those are just some of the ways that you can check in with your kids virtually. All right, we're going to go back to the meeting. And I'm going to talk about making it personal. Have you ever had a kid see you in Target and they freak out? Like, what are you doing outside of your house? Like, what is happening? You're not supposed to be here. So right now you are getting they're getting a personal window into your life. So I'm seeing some beautiful backyards here. I love the mirror. I see a beautiful mirror in some of the people's houses. Like, I see all these things in your house. This is the time to make it personal. Let them into your life. So I wanted to show 2 quick videos, YouTube videos that we did that made it personal, and the kids were way into it. All right, that wasn't it. That didn't work.
Jamie, you'll have to click right on the play button.
All right, now how do I go back?
Use your back arrow.
Aha. Okay, right on the play button. All right.
Try one more time.
All right, this one isn't working for me, but we'll show you the next one. It's okay.
All right, this problem is, so I'm gonna tell you on quarantine here, AZ's laughing because I've been like really dreaming about putting a pool into my backyard, okay? So here is my backyard right now. It has a trampoline and just a bunch of forest weed, I don't know, kind of crazy. All right, so, but I've been like, oh man, in a couple years, I really wanna put in a pool. So I'm in this dream phase of like, what is my pool? Like, what could it look like? So I've been Googling at night, cool pools, right, Ainsley? All right, so I'm gonna show you some of my pools, all right? And then I'm gonna give you my word problem about it. All right, so look at this pool. Oh, all right, so unrealistic, but isn't this awesome? Like, look at this pool. You know, we got Austin here sliding down, right, Austin? We got Harper in here, Susan swimming, and everybody's walk across the bridge. Alan, you guys all come on over, right? You can like walk out of the house and just slide into the pool. Okay, so it's pretty awesome, right? Kind of unrealistic. It's probably really expensive, but let's go to the next one. Here's another pool. I love how this has a diving board. You know, here we go down the slide. You got a hot tub. You got this little sitting area here. It's pretty awesome. All right, the only problem is I have 4 kids in my family, and if you guys all come over, you know, there's gonna be a lot of people. So the problem with like circular pools and oval, and it kind of cuts off some of the area, right? So now I thought, what if I do like a rectangular pool? So I thought, this is cool. Still has a slide. There we go, Austin. Get on the slide, you know. Harper's jumping off. You guys are all swimming in there. No, Austin will be playing basketball, right, Austin? Austin's my nephew. Austin's like, are you getting a pool? All right, so they're all jumping in. You know, we're going to be up here lounging. All right, so here's my question. So this, I really like this rectangular pool because I feel like everybody can play in it pretty nicely. All right, so here's my question. So remember, try to draw a picture of it, write an equation, and solve it. If we put a swimming pool in our backyard that was 20 feet wide and 40 feet long, what would the area of the swimming pool be? Okay, so picture that story. Remember, word problems, it's just about telling the story. What's the story here? The story is Miss Allison wants a cool pool in her backyard, right?
Okay, so I love that video because Allison is really talking about, Allison really does want a pool. Like, she really wants a pool. She really wants people to come to her house. And she was using kids' names that were in that Zoom. Some of them she knew, some of them she didn't know, because she wanted to make it personal. So she showed her real backyard, and the kids were like, got closer to the screen because they were so into it. And then they were looking at the pools and they started chatting. I like the first one. Like, they were so invested because it was going to be Allison's pool. And the first video that I'm not going to worry about, where I did something about my chickens. So I actually have 4 chickens that lay eggs. And I told the kids, we're going to watch a video about my chickens. And the fact that it was my chickens, it's not some random chickens. It was like, oh, we're going in your backyard with you. The kids were already more invested. they were very excited to see my chickens. And then I open it up and there's some eggs in there, and they were super excited to see eggs. And we talked about, but it became more real because it was here's a glimpse in my life. And we did a whole math problem about it, just like Allison used her dream pool to make it. So think of ways some of these kids into your life, because we really want to make it personal for them. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is, or make it personal to you. Now you want to make it personal to them. So this is actually something I did. I currently also teach, and I listed my kids' names, and I listed, what do I know about them? Like, I sat down and I said, okay, what do I know about Brian? What do I know about Chris? I changed their names, but for these kids, what do I know about them? Because this became, what are they interested in learning about? Because if I had a choice of watching my face or watching something I know that I love without like being here, what can we do? So some of my tools now, no joke, this is my teaching tools, is I have a dinosaur, Legos, Spider-Man car, princess. I have some little, like little Disney things that are here. I have a basketball hoop because every time we get something right, we shoot a basket. So when I'm meeting in small groups, I am pulling in some of these things that the kids love, so that way they are already high interest. Because as soon as a kid sees a dinosaur talking to them, they're going to look at the screen. They're going to say, oh, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. So one of the things I want you to think about is, can we take a moment and list your kids and think about, what do we know about? What do I know about my kids? If you don't know about your kids, send out a Google form, because interests may have changed now they're home. So you could even send out a Google form to your kids saying, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite snack? What do you like to do? So send out something, because if you know who they live with, what they like, plan your lessons around that. It's really kind of changing the content, because you need to be more engaging than everything else that's happening around you. And the last thing, just to talk about, is breakout rooms. And breakout
Jamie,
rooms.
why don't we save breakout rooms for Al's engagement, and we'll go into breakout rooms and model it.
Perfect.
Does that sound good?
Because the last thing we're just going to talk about is relationships happen in small groups. And so breakout rooms and small group instruction is really your best bet to make sure that you're really connecting with those kids. All right. We are going to go on to our next tool, which is Allison.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about the Know Your Hook. So before I began implementing virtual lessons a few weeks ago, I reflected the difference between the online setting versus teaching in a classroom. And when I'm teaching, I'm all about, I want to engage my students for the maximum amount of time. So in a classroom, I'll pull them up to the carpet. I can measure their engagement better if I'm sitting close to them. I can do guided reading, guided math lessons. I'm in a small group, and so I can keep them engaged. But virtual learning, there's so many distractions, right? We got the TVs on. They have food. They're eating food. You know, they have their siblings around. They got all these. Their dog is jumping out. They have their toy sitting right next to them that they just want to play with. They got their phones. You know, if you're teaching middle school or high school, then students are probably texting or FaceTiming their friends during your lesson. All right. So it's what we're living with right now. So I thought of three things. How do I keep our students' attention and engage them in the learning? Right. So we used to be able to control the learning environment, and now we can't. It is what it is, right? Number two, how do we get our students to not leave the meeting? So when I started thinking, I'm going to do these lessons, they can easily click a button that says leave my meeting, right? In the classroom, they can't. There is no button that they can just leave my meeting, right? So, but now we're in a place where they can just easily click that button and blame Wi-Fi. Oh, my Wi-Fi wasn't working, or my mom needed me, right? So how do I get them to not click that button? I want them to stay and learn. And the third is how do we get them to want to come back so that they can continue learning. I can continue teaching them directly. They can see me and we can talk to each other. I can hear what's going on in their life and teach them the concepts, and that they're not complaining to their parents and causing more stress, that they don't want to go to the class and so forth. So those three things: how do we keep their attention? How do we get them to not leave the meeting? And how do we get them to want to come back? So I really thought, all right, well, I have 4 children and they sit for hours. They could sit for hours watching kids' YouTube if I let them. And during quarantine, I can't say that I have not let them on watching kids' YouTube. So why? What makes that so engaging? My children will literally tune me out and all other distractions to watch kids' YouTube. So how do I do that so where I'm capturing these students so that they're tuning everything else around them out? And I thought, all right, so how do we become YouTube stars, right? This is a new era. How do us teachers become these YouTube stars that engage our students in the learning? So what I had put on here, some examples, and maybe you guys have some other ideas. These are just a few that we have done. Jana, Bree, me, Jamie have done in our lessons. Our first thing is in your house, like have you try cooking. If kids would love, like Jamie said, being in your kitchen and you cooking and having them create the recipe, or or I have this many servings. Just showing you cooking in a classroom. I mean, in your kitchen. Also, kids love close-ups. So when you think about kids' YouTube, you'll see that they always show like the hands. So if you're doing science experiments, zoom in on your hands. And I started painting my nails because I was doing stuff with my hands. So kids like to look at that. Another thing is there's 2 more pictures down here. I don't know if you know these 2 pictures, if you have children, but the bottom left on the screen is Fortnite. My kids love Fortnite. And so I thought, there's the Fortnite battle bus. If I was teaching coordinate grid, I would probably have a coordinate grid drawn on my sidewalk with sidewalk chalk, and kind of maybe even, I'd probably stand on my car, but stand on a chair and like, all right, guys, where do you think these people are going to drop, off of this battle bus? All right. And they have to pick the coordinates. All right, you guys ready? Is everybody ready for that? And you kind of build it up and then finally drop it. You could also do that with drones, or pretend like Amazon's going into drones now and they're dropping packages. You have to get the exact coordinates in order to drop it in the right house, and everybody picks what coordinate they think it's going to drop on and why. And you have this whole discussion about how do you plot coordinates, so forth. Another thing I have is TikTok. All right. I have 2 girls that are obsessed with TikTok dances. These 2, Allison and Twitch, they will create, all these different people create TikTok dances. So it could be that you have, at the end of my lesson, if you guys can earn 10 points, you get to teach me a TikTok dance. All right. And I'll pull the music up, and, I've already planned maybe ahead of time, like, so I know what's appropriate, because I want to make sure there are some TikToks that are not appropriate songs. So you want to make sure you kind of research that ahead of time if you do TikTok. But there are some cute ones that my kids have taught me, and kids are really into that. So going back to what Jamie said, know what they are into. And if that's what they're into, if that's going to motivate them, let's do it. Or you might create a lesson around a TikTok dance and the length of a TikTok dance and, word problems with it. All right, going to our next one. Let the kids into your life. What Jamie said, if you have pets, bring them into, tell a story about your pet. Or a word problem or anything, make it engaging. Kids love animals. There's an outside fun. So it could be, go outside. If you're a science teacher and you're studying clouds or weather, take your Zoom outside and let's look at the real life clouds. Everybody, let's walk outside. What do you notice? Like, what are we seeing right now? What's the weather? We don't have to stay cooped up in our living room. Looking at nature, flowers, bugs, like I have so many anthills right now for some reason. I guess the weather, let's look at the ants. How many ants do you see? Make it engaging with outside. You could do bubbles, blow some bubbles. If you're a middle school teacher and you're teaching circumference of a circle, when it pops on the ground. All right, guys, what do you think? What's the measurement going to be? How am I going to find that? measurement. You know, I need to know, what do I need to know to figure out circumference of a circle? There's a picture of a sidewalk chalk. You know, if you're any grade level teaching math, you should be doing number lines, right? Either negative numbers, positive numbers, fractions, decimals, and you have the kids maybe make up equations, and then they have to watch you hop along to their equation and see if you landed on the right number. That was their answer. So, you know, so it's just using what you have outside.
And Allison, I just want to speak up too there. If you're uncomfortable of trying to think about these tasks or these activities, there's a lot of great 3-act task examples. You can go to our YouTube playlist and look at some of the tasks and things that we've done with our kids real time. But there are other things too. If you haven't ever looked at Fletcher's 3-act task, I definitely recommend going to Google and just type in Fletcher 3-act task, and you're going to get a K-12 or K-8 at least list of real tasks that'll give you ideas, and it's just a waterfall effect, right? You watch one of his and you're like, oh, that's amazing, I could do this. So if you're feeling like you're getting a little bit of writer's block, check out some of his videos, go to our YouTube playlist, look at some of the things that we've done. When you see other people's, it automatically starts triggering things that you could do or you could try.
And like Janice said, the biggest thing is using your PLC, because some of you have sidewalk chalk, some don't, some have toys, some have pets, some have, you know, so having that. Jamie, what was the setting that we talked about the other day?
The whole setting.
So me and you were just brainstorming about, like, you could have different, like, wind and the kids create a story. Or you're talking about something, you know, with setting.
Oh, we can also do the virtual backgrounds. If you want
Yes.
to do settings and have the kids create, because you can do all sorts of different virtual backgrounds where you can almost take a picture of anything and then have the kids, this is our setting, what could we do with this? You can even like have your setting on, we're all going to meet at the Golden Gate Bridge, because that's one of the virtual settings on Zoom all the time.
Mm-hmm. So it's brainstorming, like Jana said, with your PLC, like, what can we do? What's our hook? We got to have a hook. And that's what this engagement tactile tool 3 is all about. This one is, you know, because my kids watch a lot of YouTube, I'm always like, what are you watching? They watching these random families, or this child, like, I don't know if you know Ryan is a big YouTuber. This little kid, Ryan, play with toys or open up unboxing, you know? So I was like, all right, well, let's bring it in. If it's what engages the kids, we're going to bring it in. So I have 2 videos of examples that show what we've done. If somebody wants to click on.
Jamie, I think you're muted.
Hi. Some kids came. I'm dressed for Christmas. Can we build a snowman? Okay.
I just saw 4 kids start singing, "Do you want to build a snowman?"
I don't know why I'm dressed for Christmas. It seems like Christmas break around here. All right, so I got 4. All right, so I don't know how many kids started at the playground, but these 4 kids joined them. So am I adding or subtracting?
Avery, not Avery Dillon, the other Avery.
Avery Welch.
Avery Welch.
He dances with Brielle and Devin.
Oh, nice.
You're adding.
I'm adding. And how many am I adding, Avery?
All right, and then the other one.
We have, in our next scene, we have some superheroes enjoying a tea party. All right. So in this scene, what do you notice? I've been noticing. So our scene's not changing. It's not an action problem. So people aren't coming or leaving. We're just noticing. What do you notice in this scene?
I noticed that there's 7 people because there's 3 sitting, and then there's 4 sitting on a bench, and there's 3 sitting down on the ground.
Oh wait.
All right, you can stop it there.
So on my screen,
So just some ideas about bringing in toys, or just anything around your house that would engage the students. Good. Here's another one of Jamie, that she knows that this child really likes dinosaurs. See if that one will play there, Jamie.
I think it's not the dinosaur one.
Coyotes.
Probably.
Oh.
It's not the dinosaur one.
Oh, it's the eggs one.
Yeah. Did you want to watch the egg one?
Yeah, this is the 3-act task. So she was showing, again, back to her house, she was showing the real chickens with the eggs. There's not the video of the dinosaur one?
I can, I think I might be able to share it a different way.
Okay. So so some of you who have, if you have toys at your house because you have little kids, or if your teammates do, Elsa and Anna dolls to understand a word problem. The kids are really into Frozen. Superheroes having a tea party. Dinosaur eating the words when you read it correctly. Marbles, if you have marbles. Dominoes, set up the dominoes, and if they get it right, you push it down, they see what happens. Race cars, do like a parking lot with sight words. Squishy toy. I did my 6th and 5th grader at my own house. Saturday morning, they begged me to play this game because they watched me do it on Zoom with children. And it was, they would solve math problems. Saturday morning, the two of them got up, they solved math problems for me just to play this game that I got from YouTube. I had a squishy food, pretend toy food under one bowl, and I had the real food under the other bowl. And so they had to pick, after they got the answer right, they got to pick which bowl they wanted, and they saw if they got the real food or the squishy food, and they were so excited. The students like that. Show real life pictures. There was a video.
I can show it. I think.
You have it up?
I think so.
Oh, I love this video of this little boy. It's real short.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Right.
Good. What's the word? Wow, so you think you might see somebody jogging? Is this a jogger?
Yes.
Did you think this word is jog?
I'm doggy.
Guess what I love to eat?
Yes.
I love to eat joggers! You did it right.
All right, so that was just another example of it's kind of engaging the students in what they like. If they like sports, show a sports clip from, obviously not right now, but show a basketball, show a football, go to YouTube and find a clip, and then have them talk about it. A sports picture, you playing basketball in your own driveway, is even cooler. Reader's theater, you could use your family to make a reader's theater, and them to talk about story elements. Or me and my little one, we did a Play-Doh. We did a play with Play-Doh characters, and you can discuss story elements, through that. So just kind of thinking like a YouTube star, and how do they engage these students? And that's kind of what we need to emulate right now to keep their attention. So you want to do a breakout room, Jana, to have them talk about?
Yeah, so we're going to actually model a breakout room for you. In a minute, you're going to see a blue button pop up on your screen. If you'll just click join the breakout room, there should be 3 to 4 people in each room. And all we want you to do is take 2 to 3 minutes to brainstorm and share with each other what's something that you didn't think of that you could use to engage students, or what's something that you've tried that's worked really well. We just want you to kind of PLC with somebody outside of the people that you see every day and share ideas. And then when we come back together, we'll share with each other kind of what each group talked about.
Hey, Jana, I'm having some issues, so I can't join a breakout room yet.
Hi. Good. How are you? So, what have you tried doing any virtual P?
Those of you that haven't joined, did you guys get the option to join?
Awesome. Awesome. What about you, Melissa? Use breakout rooms all the time. See, look, there's Jana right now.
Hey guys.
Hello.
What about you, Stephanie? Have you been able to teach at all?
I didn't hear. I got in late, so I wasn't able to hear what was your question. What were you asking about? Because I got in late.
Were you able to teach virtually at all since you've been home?
Oh yes. We've been using
We still waiting on everybody to get back, Jana?
Hey guys.
I know I
We're
ran.
getting everybody back in. At the bottom of your screen, you should see, or it might be under your participants, you should see a reactions button. Do you guys have a reactions button? Give me a clap if you enjoyed that experience, a thumbs up if it was one of your first times, just looking at my screen, getting a matrix. Seeing a lot of claps, a lot of thumbs up. Breakout rooms are so cool, right? This is a great way. I've even seen some teachers do whole class rotations through this. Kudos. I am not there yet, but they bring them in. They do a whole group lesson. They break them into small groups. They give each group a task. They complete the task, and they come back in as a whole group and they talk about it. And all the while, the teacher and the co-teacher are bouncing in and out of the groups. I bounced into a couple of your groups just to check on a couple of you. But it's a great way to get kids in small groups and make them feel more comfortable sharing, right? And they're engaged. I can't hide. All of you turned your screens on. You didn't all have them on a second ago. But all of you, when you went in those small groups, turned your cameras on and you're like, I'm here. And you engaged because you're in a smaller and more intimate setting. So breakout rooms are a great way to get kids talking about something and then bringing them back for time purposes, because I know we're already pushing time. We always do. I just want a couple of groups, maybe somebody from group 2. Who was from group 2? Anybody from group 2?
Megan? Wasn't that us, Megan?
Can you kind of summarize what your group talked about?
Some of the things that we were doing to keep our kids engaged, and I talked about how we were doing some of the things. My 5th graders are a very sweet group with a lot of personality, and I've noticed over like the last week they are all jumping on the Zoom, which is such a blessing. Their parents always get them on and they're always smiling, but they just seem like the light had gone out in their eyes a little bit, and it was keeping me up at night feeling really bad. So we started doing stuff like dress to impress or dress wacky or come show me something neat in your room, or like different stuff like that. And like Friday, I just honestly, and this is hard for me because I'm very type A, I scrapped all my plans and I said, we're just going to play random fun kid trivia on Kahoot, and we're going to do a dance party, and we're going to do that. And all of a sudden I got their life back. So doing a lot of that kind of stuff, and I'm going to try to incorporate those 3 act tasks, because we do a lot of number talks, but I think this would be good for them to apply all those math skills and really be able to interact more with each other. So that's what we talked about.
Awesome. So, we're just modeling different ways, right? It's not perfect. It's going to be clunky. The first time you use it with kids, they're like, I don't have a blue button. And you say, that's okay. Pop them into a different room. It'll pop up again. And then maybe there's a couple of kids who don't ever find a blue button. I don't know about all platforms, but I know if you use Zoom, you can actually have permission to take over their screen and put them in a group for them. And the one thing that I love about Zoom is we have either YouTubed or Zoom video taught ourselves everything. We are not Zoom super users. We ask ourselves questions like, could we get them into small groups? Let's Google Zoom small groups, and then breakout rooms appears, and we watch a couple of videos, and then we try it. And it's not perfect the first time, but the kids love it. And they love seeing you a little bit uncomfortable. They are totally okay. And I think, one of the things that I learned very early on in my classroom was everything cultures around the culture that I create, right? If I get super anxious and I get super worried or super worked up, my kids are gonna. But if I'm like, oh, that didn't work, Jamie, can you help me? Or Al, can you help me? Or, redo. This is not how I planned this to go. We're going to try this again tomorrow. They're going to be that calm about it, right? They reflect the culture that we bring them into, whether that's in our brick and mortar classrooms or in our virtual classrooms. The anxiety that we're carrying is going to push off onto them. So if we just step back and give ourselves permission to fail, but as long as we fail forward and grow and learn better, do better next time, coach up, learn up, then they will. And they're going to get savvy, you guys. We've got schools that are doing intervention sessions with 5-year-olds. You saw Jamie doing decoding with 4-year-olds. Like, that's crazy, right? They can do it. They can handle it. It's our insecurities that's keeping them from that.
Well, and also, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. There was a point when I was teaching and I was like, ooh, I don't know how to do this. And I was trying to work through it. And one of the kids was like, oh, Miss Bree, just do blah, 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 and it'll help. It'll happen. And I was like, okay, thanks. So the kids were like walking me through some of the steps when I was doing it, because it's not something that I've never taught virtually. I've never been a virtual teacher. I like my kids in my classroom, but my kids aren't in my classroom. So I have to be a virtual teacher, and I have to get out of my box and be uncomfortable in order to reach them. And they love it. They love that you show up every day, regardless of how well it goes. They don't see the glitches that you feel like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. They just love it. They love having the ability to still learn from you, because I'm telling you, from the mom perspective, I know nothing compared to my children's teachers. Nothing. So like, it's just, you hold such a great place in the hearts of your kids. So showing up for them every day, regardless of perfect or imperfect, it's better than not showing up.
And it goes back to the importance of having that co-host too. Like you saw today, it wasn't working well for my computer. We ran through this last night. We ran through it again this morning. We ran through it again right before we started this meeting, and everything worked perfect. And then we got on here and it's not working. But having those co-hosts, having Jamie or Al or Bree being able to pick up, they've got your back. If you're uncomfortable in a virtual teaching setting, have a co-teacher. Have somebody that's got your back, right? Support each other. We can't do this by ourselves. There's no way that I could be a effective virtual setting and forget the lifeblood of a PLC. So just because we're not in the same PLC room doesn't mean that we can't keep learning and pushing each other and growing with each other and having each other's backs, just as we would do if we were in our own classrooms. All right, we are going to quickly, very quickly, please stay with us, go through our last tactical tool, tool 4, and this is check for understanding. And we have got 4 different things that we're going to model for you. These are not, this is not an end-all be-all list. These are just 4 things that we've tried, and our whole goal for today was to be able to show you some of the things that we've tried. So one of the first things that you saw there was at the beginning of the meeting was polls, the Zoom poll. And I actually have one more I'll model for you again. What are some things that you've used for virtual assessment? So I'm gonna launch the poll. You should see it pop up on your screen. Computer adaptive testing we have coming in. I know that there's a lot of people, like i-LEADR has opened up their stuff. SchoolNet's opened up a lot of stuff using Kahoot. Nobody's used polls yet. Poll Everywhere. Google Forms. I saw somebody in the chat bar earlier when I was talking. People were using a lot of Google Forms. That's a great way to make an easy online assessment. And there's so many different types, right? You can make multiple choice, open-ended, matching, and it's tied to their school email. So you can track their learning over time. It puts it on a spreadsheet for you. It grades it for you. It's a great free resource. Everybody can have Google Forms for free. So it kind of eliminates one of those barriers of you got to have money to buy something, or you got to have an account. See, Poll Everywhere, Kahoot, Pear Deck is one that's not on there. But right now, if you aren't familiar with Pear Deck or don't have a Pear Deck account, they're giving all educators 90 days free platinum. So you get all the platinum stuff in Pear Deck for 90 days. That's going to get us through the summer, you guys. So check that out. Flipgrid. Dolores said, don't forget Flipgrid. That's a great one. I know some people are using Vocabulary. There's all these different ways to check for understanding. And then I can share the results with you, and you can kind of see where most of our people are taking assessments. So Zoom polls, Poll Everywhere. I'm sorry, I had them on blank. Poll Everywhere. These are all great ways. You can go ahead and go to the next one. Padlet is another good one. I just modeled polls. Poll Everywhere is an add-on to your Google slide. So if you just go up to your Tara, I see that you say, how do you do a Zoom poll? If you, on that resource doc that we sent you with all the links, we put all the video tutorials that we've been using to learn how to do these things on that. But short and sweet, you set it up when you create the meeting. It's in the advanced features when you create the meeting. Poll Everywhere is an add-on, a Google add-on. We modeled that with the Word Splash earlier, or the whatever that thing is called, where the people Quizlet, Kahoot, Answer Garden. There's a lot of teachers out there on Fridays scheduling times with teachers, and they're doing core phonics assessments. They're doing spelling and vocabulary assessments. They're calling out words, definitions, showing pictures. Kids are choosing the vocabulary word on the screen. In fact, I think if we go to the next slide, Jane, yes, this is a Pear Deck example, and I'm going to take the screen, Jamie, for a second, and start this for you guys so that you can see what this looks like. This is a really great, if no one's used Pear Deck, this is a really great way to, Let me go back to my meeting, I'm sorry. I'm gonna share screen. You're gonna see in a second, if you go to joinpd.com, you are going to see a link pop up on the screen. And when you see that link, let me open that up. Move you out of the way. Here comes Pear Deck. I will start the lesson. You start the lesson before you start your PowerPoint. So if you go to joinpd.com, let me get this out of the way. Loading slowly. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, okay. It's normally not this slow. Joinpd.com, this is going to be your code, IZWQZ. So type in that code. Insincere zebras wish quick zebras. It's IZWQZ. Bree just put it in the chat if you need to see it in the chat. There's also a way here to give students a link, so I can go back to Zoom and chat. Put it in the actual link. It'll take kids right there. If that's easier for kids, you can click it straight from the thing. I know I stopped it for 1 second so I could put it in the chat. You should be able to see it now. Okay. So we have 8 students. If I start the class, and then I'm going to go through to the slide that we need.
This is a great way to keep kids with you. They can't click ahead. Yeah, so you can see on your screen, it's going to move with you wherever you went to that slide. Drag the red dot to the word that best describes who might be new to virtual online learning. So you should see a red dot on your screen, and you should be able to drag it. I can see 13 people of 14 people have responded. And then what I can do as the teacher, I can say, okay, guys, let's look at that. And look, we can have a quick conversation right there in real time. We can talk about the results. And then look, some people are like, oh, I went the wrong one. Someone who's new to virtual learning, the word that best describes that might be a novice virtual teacher, right? And we could talk about that. And then people who are like, oh, okay, they can move their dots. It's shameless. No one knows who's who. And then you could even say, if you chose uncomfortable, can you make an argument? Because maybe that's a great way to get people to talk about different perspectives and multiple meanings of words, right? And some people are like, oh, okay, I'll move mine over. New might be novice. So it's just a really cool way to check for kids' understanding. Do they know the words? Maybe you are doing you could do vocabulary, you could do math facts. What is the product?
What is the quotient? What is the sum? What is the difference? There's, oh my gosh, there's so many things that you could do with Pear Deck. So that's just one example of a way to share that. In session. Okay. So Pear Deck is one way, and then I'm going to go let Al, I think, share the next one, which is virtual whiteboards.
Oh, this is neat. I just found this because I'm big on that response is the kids using the whiteboard. So this seemed pretty easy when I set it up. And you can, each child has a whiteboard to use virtually, and they can write on it and it sends it back to you. And you can make it private or where everybody could see it. So it's a pretty, I don't know if you.
You want me to play it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. It's just a whiteboard, but it's just an easy way, again, to get everybody participating.
You can't hear the music because my sound's messed up, but you still see the directions.
So you just create a class. It gives you a code that you can send to your students, and then they click on and they're in.
One of my favorite things to do as a teacher is numbered heads, where I ask kids a question. They get to write their response on their whiteboards and then talk to the kids sitting at their table, revise their answers. I roll a dice. They hold their boards up. They might not have whiteboards right in front of them, but they all have a device. So it's a great way to kind of keep those things those practices that we know are best in our classroom, or just innovating on ways to make it virtual.
And I really like how everybody has their own whiteboard, so you really can make sure everybody is participating, because that's the hard thing on this virtual, is making sure they're all engaged and participating in what you're teaching them.
Love it.
Another cool tool that's out there.
Just another cool tool there. And Jamie, physical responses?
This is something I think all of us we have to increase. We have to increase our checks for understanding that our kids are with us more and more and more, because we're competing with so much more. A lot of you I know are already doing this. Thumbs up, using visual signs. We did first person, second person, third person. I agree. So that way you can quickly scan your class to see if they're with you. Writing or drawing, I'm gonna let you know, if you tell your kids to write with Sharpie, when they hold up their work, or with a whiteboard, when she holds, that's Charlie down there in the corner, holding up her whiteboard, you can see everything she did because it stands out. If you write with a pencil, it's really hard for them to kind of figure out what it says. So tell your kids to use Sharpies. Scavenger hunt. If you're talking about metaphors or similes, you can say, you have 10 seconds to bring back something that is as slow as my grandma walks, or something. So that way they have to go find something, and they bring back, this dinosaur moves really slow. So then it involves them going and getting something and bringing it back. Vocabulary signs. If you want to stress vocabulary, like for instance, if you're doing length, have a secret sign. Every time you say the word length, the kids have to do that sign. Or height. Or if it's a metaphor, I mean, you can do anything that you want to increase that vocabulary. They do a sign, and then they earn points. And if they earn enough points, you're doing a TikTok. And then there's another one that's just a quick one, which is lean. So like, let's say you're comparing similes and metaphors, and you have two sides, and you say, okay, if you think this is a simile, lean toward that one. If you think it's a metaphor, lean toward that one.
Yep, that's another TikTok, Jamie. That's good.
There you go. I don't even know TikToks, but yeah, so then you have them lean. So then everybody in your class, you can see they're leaning one way or the other way. Just know sometimes it's mirrored. So if your whole class is leaning the opposite way, you're probably mirrored. But physical responses, increase those physical responses, because the more they can move, the more likely they are to stay with you and be engaged. And you can check and see, that kid has not moved. That's a picture of that kid watching me. That's not the actual kid. They just shoved a picture of themselves. It's not blinking. So movement is a way to help that.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. You have one exit ticket. We want to know how you're gonna be a lead learner. We want you to remember that it's okay to be uncomfortable. So we wanna know, how are you planning to fail forward in your virtual classrooms? We have one more poll everywhere. What's one goal that you're going to crush to increase engagement for your students? So you can go to pollev.com/JanaSales142, and it should, we'll put that link in the chat, and you can click it right from there. If someone already has something that you're like, oh, I'm going to try that too, you can do a thumbs up beside it and choose one that someone else has already done.
Where is the
/, sales 142. The link is in the chat box. If you need it, it's also on the screen, up at the top of the screen. It's okay. Polls, breakout rooms, love it. Ooh, more breakout rooms. More polls. Pear Deck and virtual whiteboards. I love it. Active participation in a virtual setting. We can do this, you guys. I love it. Making it more about the kids and myself. Yes. Things that we can control. I love it. Videos with teachers. All the different tools. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's so simple, right? Just the quick gestures. We know that active participation is a lot easier when we're right in front of kids, but it doesn't mean it's impossible just because we're sitting in our own living room. So I'm loving this. Engagement PLC for our teachers. Love it. Taking a risk with new kids. Yes. We've been leading some PD sessions to try to get a feel for adult learning versus student learning. I love it, you guys. Use toys. Absolutely. We appreciate your participation today. We know that today was a long one. There's just been such a big response to our YouTube playlist, people emailing us and asking us questions and how do you do this and that. And we just, as a team, as actually Jamie, thought, hey, why don't we share what we've learned with the teachers who are teaching alongside of us? We don't have all the answers, but if you do have a question, our contact information is both in the slides and on the handout that we emailed to you. We will send you everybody that was present for the entire PD. We will send you a CEU certificate with an hours credit for PD, CEU. So you should be getting that. You'll get that to the email that you registered with. So if you didn't register with your school email, make sure that you check the email that you registered with, because that's the only way we have to access you guys. If you don't already follow our social media, make sure you give that a click. Join our YouTube subscribers. Look at Facebook, Instagram, whatever your poison is. Check us out. We try to put free templates on there. We have downloadables on our website. And we try to also keep a running record of all the virtual PD that we offer that you guys have. It's free access for you guys. So we appreciate you joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please feel free to stick back. We can unmute everybody, or we can talk via chat.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm in South Carolina and I don't know what to search for y'all as. What's the name of your group or whatever, so I can join your YouTubes and social media accounts.
We on the PDF, did you get the PDF handout? We gave you guys links for all of our social media.
Okay, no, I was just sent this from my principal. Said, hey, you might want to hop on to this. So
if you put your email in the chat, we will email you the slide deck,
Okay,
And
I
on
got
the
that
side,
already.
I'll put it back up. Also, I'll share my screen and go back to that screen. It has all of our social media handles on there for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Great question. You're so welcome.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Will that be 1 hour credit or 2 hours of credit?
It'll be 2 hours. We weren't planning to make it last that long, so we have 1 hour, but we'll change it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. It was great. Okay.
Yeah, she can't. Some people can't figure out how to exit. It's still recording.